The story opens with a man named Simon. He has come for a job interview. He hasn't worked for the last 10 years. He never went to school either. The reason is that Simon is mentally unstable. He hears voices in his head. His inner voice tells him, flatly, that they will not hire him. In the interview, Simon suddenly sees an old man sitting in front of him. Startled, Simon begins blurting out strange, random words, and because of that, the job opportunity slips away. Scene change. Now we meet a man named Ed Dearman. In a campus cafeteria, Ed catches a young man stealing food. He splashes hand sanitizer in his face. The campus security guard gets furious with Ed, saying, "You no longer work here. You have no right to do that." The guard warns Ed not to come back. To make matters worse, Ed had parked his car in a spot reserved for the security guard. Now he is going to be fined. Simon and Ed live in the same neighborhood. At Simon's apartment, his sister is at home. Ed hides his security badge inside a clock that doubles as a locker. The next day, Simon goes to see a doctor. He lies and tells the doctor plainly that the hallucinations and everything else have stopped. On his way back from the doctor, Simon witnesses a man kidnapping a young woman. He stands frozen and starts muttering random words. His inner voice says, "You can't even say anything properly, go home." Because of his hallucinations, Simon can't make out the kidnapper's face. He watches as the man forces the woman into a van and drives away. The inner voice taunts him, saying that he just stood there the same way when I broke your sister's jaw, and you will stand there again. Simon runs after the van and, while chasing, manages to memorize the license plate number. He goes straight to Ed's door and knocks. Ed already recognizes him as the man who once punched two cops in the middle of the road. Simon tells Ed he needs a ride to the police station. He says he saw a woman being kidnapped. Ed does not believe him. Simon leaves and goes to the police station alone. The inner voice keeps nagging him. Exhausted, Simon's condition worsens. He begins to see things moving under his skin. At the station, Simon gives a full description of the young woman and the event. He still cannot describe the kidnapper's face. He tells Detective Liz the van's number. After Simon leaves, the detective looks at his file and sees that he is mentally unstable. Simon's inner voice tells him they will not look for her. They already know you are crazy, it says. Simon is terrified at night. He still fears the boogeyman in his closet and demons under his bed. Later, Simon calls the detective and asks if they found the girl. Detective Liz replies that the license plate number Simon gave corresponds to a vehicle found this morning in Coldwater, which is 300 miles north of here. Simon tries to convince the detective that what he saw was real, but she does not trust him. She tells him she needs proof before she will take his claims seriously. Meanwhile, Ed is losing money at poker. At that moment, Simon shows up at Ed's door again. Simon says the police are not searching for the girl, and that he knows Ed used to be a cop or something like that. Hearing this, Ed lets him in. Simon speaks in fits, a string of random sentences, and he explains to Ed that when he gets excited his words get mixed up. Doctors call it word salad. Simon told Ed he had given the police the license plate number, but the police said it was the wrong plate. Ed replied that maybe Simon hadn't remembered it clearly, and the cops probably only checked the exact number he gave them. Ed added that he would try a different approach, reading some characters as letters, like treating a 5 as an S and a 1 as an I. Ed promises to pull up 5 or 6 plates for Simon, with names and addresses, and then Simon will be on his own. Simon agrees. But those license lookup sites cost money, and when Ed tries to pay, his payment gets declined. They realize they'll have to shift to Plan B. Simon notices Ed's clock that doubles as a locker. The two of them head to the DMV to check license plates. Ed pretends to be the head of campus security and explains they are checking plates because some cars outside campus have been vandalized and they need to verify registrations. The DMV officer refuses outright. He says they will not hand over that kind of information to a security guard. Simon's inner voice nags him again, whispering he has no idea what might be happening to that girl right now. Panic rises, and Simon pleads with the officer, "A girl has been kidnapped, please help us." Ed calms him down and pulls him out before things escalate. They both know they can't risk getting arrested, but they are running out of options. At the same time, Detective Liz learns about Simon's recent behavior, that he has been asking questions about license plates. Simon takes Ed to the part of town where kidnapping happened. Simon describes the girl, heavy makeup and short skirts. Hearing that, Ed leads him to an area where working girls hang out. They stage an interrogation, pretending to be cops. They ask a woman if she knows anything about the kidnapped girl, and she says she doesn't know anything. Ed tells the woman to take her glasses off and say the same thing. Ed tells Simon that she's telling the truth because she blinked. But suddenly, a group shows up and starts smashing the lights on Ed's car. The men pull Ed and Simon out of the vehicle. Ed explains they were only trying to find a girl who might be in danger. The group's leader snaps at them, saying, "Don't pretend to be fake cops in my area, go somewhere else." After that confrontation, Ed talks about going home. He is not convinced the girl they are looking for even exists. He does not fully trust Simon either. Simon storms off in anger. Ed changes his mind and follows him. He realizes Simon cannot find her by himself and decides to help. They go to see the same campus security guard Ed encountered earlier and ask for assistance. When the guard refuses to help, Ed blackmails him, threatening to expose the guard's habit of molesting young subordinates. Ed even has proof. The guard relents. He has a friend in the traffic division who can help. The guard agrees on the condition that Ed never comes back to his campus again. Ed, upset but relieved, promises he will never return. With the traffic division's help, they get license plate data. The results show 3 similar plates in the area, but none are registered to a van. In other words, the plate that belongs on the van is missing. Now they have to find which of those 3 vehicles is missing its plate. Simon keeps replaying the DMV incident in his head, remembering how the officer must have thought he was crazy. Ed remarks, "It is hard to miss when you go all Section D." Simon snaps back angrily, "I have a name. I am not Screw Loose Section 8. I am Simon." Ed gets the point. They head to the first address on the list. Ed tells Simon to keep his talking to a minimum. Simon cannot meet people's eyes. Ed asks him to try, "Look into my eyes for 1 second, then make it 2. Simon forces himself to stare into Ed's eyes for 2 seconds. They question the man at the first address about his car. He says the car is no longer with him. It was towed to a junkyard. They take the junkyard receipt and drive toward the yard. On the way, Ed asks Simon what it feels like to hear something that is not there. Simon turns the radio up loud until the channel distorts. He says it feels exactly like that. At the junkyard, they search until they find the car. It is the same vehicle. Its number plate is missing. That confirms Ed's fear. They have no easy way to track the thief who stole the plate. Simon suddenly hears a scream, but it is only a hallucination. Ed tries to calm him. The inner voice sneers, "You will never find her." The voice Simon keeps hearing turns out to be his father's. Detective Liz shows up at the DMV to check what Simon had been asking about. She reviews the CCTV footage to see exactly what happened. Back at Simon's apartment, his sister, Dee Dee, is talking to him. She tells him there's a city service that helps people like him find work. She wants Simon to get a job quickly because she cannot run the household alone. She even fixed his bed and straightened his room, but now Simon will be afraid of the demon under the bed. Simon snaps in anger. If she cared so much, why did she leave him alone with their father? Dee Dee answers that she was only 16 back then, a kid herself. At the same time, someone bursts into Ed's house and attacks him. It is the kidnapper. Simon sees the attack from his window. Quietly, he slips out and heads toward Ed's house. Inside, the kidnapper has beaten Ed badly. He taunts them, asking why they are looking for him. Ed tells him he knows the kidnapper has the girl. Simon appears behind them and throws a ball at the kidnapper, surprising him. In the scramble, Simon manages to wrest the gun away. The kidnapper warns them they should not kill him, because if he dies, his accomplices will kill the girl in revenge. As the kidnapper lunges to grab the weapon back, the gun goes off. The kidnapper collapses, dead. Simon's inner voice murmurs, "Look what we have here." A call comes through on the kidnapper's phone. Simon helps Ed to his feet and drags him away from the house. The gunshot rang out across the neighborhood. They call the police. Dee Dee is at her salon when Simon staggers in carrying Ed, blood everywhere. Dee Dee is a third-year nursing student, so she takes over. Her customers notice and ask what is happening. She shoos them out and shuts the door. She begins to clean and stitch Ed's forehead. She has only watched this procedure before, she has never done it herself. Detective Liz arrives at the scene, but she cannot identify the dead man easily, his face mangled by the blast. Dee Dee tells Simon he has to tell the police everything. Ed, groggy and bloody, agrees. He says she is right, he should have tried to explain things sooner, and getting involved was a mistake. Simon refuses. He holds up the kidnapper's phone and says, "Look at this, we cannot let them kill that girl." Outside, the police have already come to the salon. Simon says to Dee Dee, "Stall them." She does as he asks. She tells the officers they cannot enter without a warrant. Inside, Ed returns a call. The number on the kidnapper's phone matches a man they tracked at the junkyard, a guy named Kurt. The officers outside tell Dee Dee that the blood on her hands means they must come in. She lets them enter, insisting the stains are only hair dye. Behind the salon, the police find Ed's car. With the commotion, Ed and Simon slip away. They catch a bus and leave, still chasing the only lead they have. The next morning when Kurt arrives at his office, Ed ambushes him, knocks him out, and ties him to a chair. When Kurt regains consciousness, they question him about the kidnapped girl, but he refuses to talk. Just then Simon notices something. Kurt also has a clock that doubles as a locker. Inside it, Simon finds the kidnapped girl's passport. At that moment Simon hallucinates and sees his father in Kurt's place. Furious, he grabs Kurt's ear with a pair of pliers, demanding to know where the girl is. Ed quickly pulls Simon back and calms him down. Kurt laughs at Simon's condition, but Ed sprays hand sanitizer directly into his eyes. Ed reminds him the label clearly says to wash immediately if it gets in the eyes, otherwise serious damage can occur. Now Kurt finally starts talking. He says he met the kidnapper online, and they were running a human trafficking operation. The phone rings again. Ed demands to know who the other partner is, but Kurt insists he has no idea. Ed asks why Kurt has the girls' passports. Kurt explains that the kidnapper would taunt the victims with their passports, promising to give them back as a way to control them. Kurt also reveals that one of the girls once tried to escape. The kidnapper said he had to make an example out of her. Hearing this, Simon explodes with anger, because that was the same girl he saw being beaten in front of him. Kurt finally offers an address, the house where he delivered that stolen license plate. In exchange, he wants to be untied. As soon as Ed gets the address, he calls the police himself. From one side, Ed and Simon head to that location. From the other side, Detective Liz arrives at Kurt's office. Seeing the passports, she realizes Kurt is deeply involved in the kidnapping. Meanwhile, Simon hallucinates again, seeing his father blocking the entrance and telling him to walk away. The vision mocks him, calling him a broken child who sees things that aren't even there. Ed clicks his pen repeatedly, using the sound to ground Simon back in reality. Slowly, Simon calms down. Ed hands him the pen, saying, "From now on, this belongs to you." They knock on the door, shouting. SWAT has the location surrounded. There's nowhere to run. But no one answers. Ed and Simon enter and search every room, one by one. The house is empty. On a desk, they find documents for 4 different girls. Suddenly, they hear a noise upstairs. They rush to check, but again, no one is there. Simon begins to fear they are too late. Ed sighs and says, "We tried." Both sit down, exhausted. Then, an old woman comes down the stairs holding an axe. Ed and Simon spot her immediately. Ed points his empty gun at her, and she panics and runs away. They have no idea who she was. Going back upstairs, they discover a secret chamber hidden behind one of the rooms. Ed asks Simon for a plastic pen to pick the lock. Using it, they manage to open the chamber. Inside, they finally find the kidnapped girl alive. They bring her outside, where the police are already waiting. But Ed and Simon are the true heroes of this story. Detective Liz looks at Simon and says, "Good job." Hearing those words, Simon smiles with genuine happiness. And with that, friends, our story comes to an end. Tell us in the comments how you liked this explanation, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.